Доброго дня усім, хто є у залі і хто дивиться нас онлайн. Починаємо роботу в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. Перший брифінг на сьогодні. Полковник Олександр Мотузяник, речник Міністерства оборони України з питань АТО про ситуацію на сході України.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now, information about current situation in the anti-terror operation zone. Today's briefing, I start with good news. During last 24 hours, and the result of military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed or wounded. The enemy significantly decreased the number of shellings, but continued to use the weapons that are banned by the Minsk agreements. Now, information in more detail. The Lugansk sector. Here, during the last 24 hours, the enemy twice opened non-precision fire with the use of 82mm mortars. At about 2 p.m., the militants launched one mine in direction of our positions near Krymska, and at about 7 p.m., they fired 2 shots in the direction of our positions near Izbinka. And the enemy used weaponry of IFVs at the positions of Ukrainian detachments in near Lugansk and Novolugansk, and also opened fire with the mounted grenade launchers. But these shellings didn't pose threat to the lives of our servicemen. Also, at night, the enemy delivered fire with the use of small arms and grenade launchers in the region of Travneva and Svetlodarsk, and the enemy got proper response from Ukrainian armed forces. And on the whole, during the last 24 hours, the occupants 7 times carried out firing provocations in the Lugansk sector. The Primorsk sector, after 8 p.m., the enemy twice shelled our positions near Vodyane with the use of 120mm mortars, launching 5 mines. And these were short shellings, and experienced defenders of Ukraine quickly identified and covered enemy's positions with the use of mounted grenade launchers. Also, the occupants launched 8 82mm mortar mines at ATO forces that defend Verkhnyataretsk, taking into account that this shelling didn't threaten the lives and health of our servicemen. Ukrainian servicemen didn't return fire at this enemy provocation. And during the day, the illegal armed formations opened fire with grenade launchers and small arms at our detachments that are deployed near Vodyane, Avdiivka, and Krasnogorivka, and each time the enemy got response with the weapons that are not banned by Minsk agreements. And on the whole, during the last 24 hours, along the line of confrontation, the enemy delivered 13 shellings of the positions of the armed forces of Ukraine, including 11 precision ones. And in 8 instances, Ukrainian forces returned fire. According to information provided by main intelligence department of MOD, Russian Occupation Command continued to secretly give orders to shell positions of ATO forces in order to provoke return of fire. And on the 5th of November, enemy shelled frontline positions of the armed forces of Ukraine with the use of artillery, and it was directed from the region of Mineralna, and it led to further escalation of military actions and provoking by Russian commanders of violations of the Minsk agreements, raised dissatisfaction among servicemen of so-called 1st and 2nd Army Corps of Russian occupation forces that are recruited from local residents and whose families live near the front line. And also in the units and large units of illegal armed groups, the level of moral and psychological state decreases, and they lose trust and respect to Russian officers and sergeants who create comfortable conditions for themselves and neglect their subordinates.
This resulted in a large-scale submission of letters of resignation by young replacement personnel of the so-called First Army Corps. The militants are leaving the positions of these military units, not waiting for commanders' decisions. In the area of anti-terroristic operation, the officers of the Joint Center of Civil-Military Cooperation Lugansk accompanied the representatives of international charity Yellow and Blue Wings to the settlement of Muratova. Near the front line, the servicemen and volunteers delivered to the school children of Muratova Secondary School the sweet presents and discussed with their parents and teachers the issue of organizing recreation and rehabilitation of IDP children and IDP families, and identified demand for charitable assistance. The officers of Civil Military Cooperation Team Svetlodarsk delivered 200 bags to 45 positions, warm clothing and children's pictures to the units of the 54th Separate Mechanized Brigade. The servicemen brought to low-income families of Lugansk the flour, canned products, groats, and drinking water. During the last week, the military sappers in the area of anti-terroristic operation cleared up from mines over 10 hectares of area, neutralized 1,168 explosive objects. The engineering sappers units of the armed forces of Ukraine since the beginning of WTO demand 1,144.5 kilometers of roads, 17.5 kilometers of railways, and over 3.5 thousand hectares of area in Donetsk and Lugansk region, and they neutralized 172.5 thousand mines. In Kharkiv region, the servicemen of 92nd Separate Mechanized Brigade returned home. The defenders have been completing combat missions in the Donetsk sector for over a year, so they were solemnly welcomed at their native city by their family members and citizens of this city. In Sosnovska Educational Center in Bereznivka district of Rivne region, the memorial plate was solemnly opened to the hero Mykola Sayuk, who died in the course of anti-terroristic operation. Hundreds of fellow villagers of the hero took part in this event, as well as companions in arms, volunteers, and other citizens. The memorial plate was opened by the son of the hero. Are there any questions? There are no questions. Thank you. That's all for today.